And thanks very much to the Minister for being in attendance. Minister, you don't need me to remind you that the scale and nature of the housing crisis that affects not just this city of Dublin but the entire country is the greatest social challenge of our time. And I know the government recognises this. I know many initiatives have been undertaken in order to address the issue. However, one of the proposals being put forward by the Peter McVerry Trust, to me, it seems to be an eminently sensible one, which is trying to utilise the amount of free, available, vacant space that we do have, particularly in Dublin City, that can be utilised for the housing of our people. And you know, Minister, as much as anybody, the long-term damage that any stint of homelessness or any insecurity of housing can cause, particularly to young children. It can last for the rest of their lives. And I think particularly in Ireland we have a particular understanding of that. Anyway, according to McVerry Trust, who, as you will accept, is a very credible and compassionate organisation whose heart absolutely is in the right place, and have worked with a number of ministers over the last number of years in trying to find practical solutions to our housing problem, have identified in around 10,000 units which they feel would be beneficial in addressing the housing crisis that we currently have. And these would be over-the-shop units, as they would describe them as. So this, added to the estimated 33,000 empty residential units across the city and further afield, would certainly go a long way to addressing the issues that we have. There are other housing projects, such as the Aodhán project, which is quite an interesting one and recently won an award, I understand, in relation to trying to address the issue of large 4-bedroom occupancies or 3-bedroom occupancies which have one person living in them, and redeveloping the upper stories of such a dwelling to try and alleviate some of the issues that we have. But certainly this over-the-shop phenomenon has been identified by McVerry Trust as being a very practical way that the City Council, with support from your department, can address some of the housing shortages that we have. And they have suggested, and the City Council backed them up in terms of this, that about 10,000 people could be provided in these empty or underused spaces in the upper floors of buildings. So what we're trying to do, what the McVerry Trust are trying to do, is to try and think imaginatively, looking at a kind of an audit of the empty spaces that are available in the city at the moment. It's clear that this over-the-shop phenomenon is a place where are spaces in places where housing could be easily accommodated for families who are in need. And what we want to know is how seriously the government view this submission, which was made by the Peter McVerry Trust to the Department of Housing, Planning, Community and Local Government in terms of a national reuse strategy in July of 2017. I'm sure you have this submission, Minister. I'm sure you've studied it in great depth. It makes a huge amount of sense to me. So essentially what we're making the case for here is, while the conversation is always about building and building new units and building new estates, and that's all understandable, that process is quite lengthy. It's, obviously there's planning regulations that have to be gone through, and that can be quite exhaustive and difficult. So what we're looking at here are existing buildings, existing units, existing spaces that are being underused, underutilised. 10,000 of them we submit in Dublin City alone, and we would ask that your department would take this submission by the Peter McVerry Trust seriously, to engage with Dublin City Council and to begin the process of utilising these units to house our people.